I'm Nicola Teffer and I'm the curator of Demolished Sydney. The State Office Block was erected on the site of two demolished sandstone buildings which had stood there since the 1840s. One of those was the Public Library, which was Sydney's first library, and the other was the Government Printing Office, where public servants worked printing railway tickets, compositing and printing government reports and binding books. So public servants have worked on that site for 100 years or more. They were demolished in the 1960s when the State Office Block was built, which itself was demolished in the 1990s in order to make way for the Aurora Place building.
I'm Ian Ennis, and I worked at the State Office Block from about 1985 to 1989 when I was a junior landscape architect in the New South Wales Government Architect's Office. And for much of the 1970s and 1980s, the State Office Block housed most of the Government Architects branch, which in those days was one of the major design authorities in the country. The architect of the State Office Block complex was Ken Woolley, who had a long and illustrious career in Australia. This was his second major commission. He designed the State Office Block in 1961 when I think he was only about 26 years old, so an amazing commission for a young architect. The State Office Block was quite technically advanced for its time, externally, but also internally it was very elegantly organised and it had very high quality materials. Interestingly, the plan form of the tower block is quite an early example in Sydney of the placement of the structural columns on the outside perimeter and a central lift core, which meant that you had very large unobstructed column-free spaces internally, and that allowed for amazing flexibility with the arrangement of furniture and room divisions. And in fact, there was a standard furniture suite that came with the building of an enormous range of furniture items, all designed to a design module that related to the ceiling panel. Internally, you never had any glare or sunlight issues because each floor extended out way beyond the line of glazing with these really large overhangs, I think about 1.5 or 1.8 metres deep, effectively as a sun hood on each floor. So it meant that there was no direct sun on any windows. And externally, even though you might think of the State Office Block as a typical international style slab block, it had quite sophisticated materials. And, the external cladding was actually in bronze, a very expensive material and done with very beautiful detailing, very, very minimal detailing. And as you went into the foyer was a double height space, quite austere, but with the walls clad in little white marble tesserae, which caught the light and had this wonderful sort of lustrous feeling. I really regretted it being demolished because I think it was a great example of modernist architecture in Sydney at the time, the early 1960s, and which, in terms of the quality of the design and the clarity of the execution and the quality of the materials, was head and shoulders above a lot of other stuff that was built in Sydney at the time. But there are these sites in Sydney which inevitably do end up contested because of either the prominence of their location or the value of the land, and they're places where a number of historic buildings have already been demolished and replaced, and then a new building's been built and it's also been replaced. And that we see that process happening right now in Sydney, where buildings that are probably quite good, quite competent, are likely to disappear because there's something better that will come as a result.
My name's Peter Poulet. I'm the 23rd New South Wales Government Architect. The State Office Block was a great piece of architecture designed by young Ken Woolley, and I personally loved it. It wasn't fit for purpose. It wasn't loose fit long life, I'm sorry. It was riddled with asbestos. The office plate didn't work. There were a whole lot of reasons that it was inefficient and I'm afraid doomed. What was interesting was that they then chose someone like Renzo Piano to replace it. And that's a sign that they respected what was there, and that's a sign that they wanted to do something equally good, if not better. And I think they've achieved that. I think it's a fine building. It is disappointing that the State Office Block was lost. Having said that, it wasn't working for the future.